After the crash, the nurse leaned over and asked for my next of kin's number. My parents were gone. I paused. No other relatives. The rich kid who hit me stood right there. A short, sharp scoff escaped his nose. His shoulders shook. As if he heard a particularly bad joke. Late night hospital corridors are silent enough to hear in 4 drip. Then, high heels. Click. 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 Each step faster. Heavier. Hammering through the stillness. By morning, 3 rolls. Royce's blocked the ER entrance. Sleek black. Door. 2. Door. Windows up. On the 3rd day, the perpetrator's father arrived. He stood in my doorway. Knees bent. Hands trembling. Mr. Sterling. I leaned back against the hospital bed, staring at these unfamiliar faces. Who is my family? I wondered. I'd like to know myself. My name is Lucas Sterling. 26. Software engineer. Orphaned young. I'd lived alone ever since. Life was a glass of lukewarm water. Flat. Without a single bubble. Until that Porsche Cayenne slammed into me, sending me flying 6 meters. Honestly? Mid-air. My first thought wasn't, I am going to die. It was who's going to finish that unfinished code? Then the world went black. When I opened my eyes again, the ceiling was a blinding white. The tang of antiseptic clawed at my nostrils. A needle pierced the back of my hand, icy fluid dripped steadily down the tube. A nurse bent to take my blood pressure. Her movements gentle. Seeing me awake, her shoulders relaxed slightly. You. Back. Mr. Sterling. Hairline fracture in your right leg. 2 broken ribs. Stable for now. I nodded. Leg fractured. 2 ribs cracked. Manageable. She put away the cuff and picked up her clipboard. We need emergency contact info. Phone number? I stared at a wrinkle in the blanket for a long time. Parents gone 3 years. No girlfriend. Lived solo. Distant relatives? Last saw them at the funeral. After that, no one looked for me. No family. I said, setting down a glass of water. The base clinked crisply against the bedside table. The nurse's pen froze mid-air. She looked at me, hesitant. Then, an emergency contact? Anyone? No one. Her expression grew complicated. Lips parted. Then closed. Finally, she sighed softly. Her eyes held pity. Mostly confusion. Like examining an unsolvable puzzle. Before she could speak, the door swung open. A young man entered. Early 20s. Black hoodie. Impeccably tailored though logo. Less. A gold chain thick enough to blind hung around his neck. Hair gelled to perfection. Every strand in place. Behind him, 2 men in sharp suits held fruit baskets and supplements. Flanking the door like sentries, the driver who hit me, Julian Vance. Youngest son of Vance Properties. Julian entered chin tucked. Attempting sincerity. But I caught it. The suppressed smirk at the corner of his mouth. Eyeing me like some curiosity. Lucas. He drawled. Glancing at his phone before scanning my plastered leg. Banged up bad? Right leg fractured. 2 ribs broken. I stated flatly. as if discussing someone else. Right. He nodded, pulling a matte finish business card from his hoodie pocket. It carried a faint whiff of cologne. He held it between two fingers. My assistant. Details. Contact him for settlement. His gaze swept the room. A bare Bones' private ward. Walls glaring white. Windowsill empty. Bedside table holding only a glass of water. Dust. Filmed in long cold. His mouth twitched, the smirk broke free. Family? He asked the nurse. Voice casual but cutting. From the accident till now? Not a single visitor. The nurse glanced at me. Clipboard hovering. None. I cut in. Surprised by my own calm. Parents passed. No other relatives. Silence fell. Broken only by the four drip. Plink. Plink. Julian laughed. Not polite. Not mocking. Uncontainable. A harsh rasp from his throat. Convenient. He muttered. Striding to the bedside. He pulled another card from his jacket, flicking it onto the table where it skidded to a stop near a coaster. Legal will contact you. Settlement by the book. Don. Get ideas. Hand on the doorknob. He paused. Looking back. Just one glance. I read it clearly, a rootless nobody. No waves. He left. I lay there, staring at the white ceiling. No anger. None. Every word he said was true. I had no backup. No family. Hurt. With no one to even call and curse the world. Compensation? Follow procedure. Money meant little. I just wanted to heal. Go back. And patch that damn code. Project launched next week. I shut my eyes, forcing sleep. 11:47 p.m. The silence shattered. High heels. Sharp. Thin stilettos striking tile. Click. 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 Faster. Harder. Like they. Deep punch through the floor. The night nurse peeked over the desk. Mouth opening. Then thought better of it. The owner of the steps rounded the corner. A woman in a razor. Sharp black pantsuit. Hair coiled tightly at her nape. She ignored the nurse. Ignored door numbers. Her gaze locked onto my handle. Stride unbroken. She stood nearly 5 foot 8. The black skirt hugged her curves, a thin metallic belt gleamed. Red. Soled heels struck the tile with crisp reports. That flash of crimson under fluorescent lights looked like a fresh wound. Long hair. Flawless makeup. But her eyes burned. Tilted up at the corners. Lips pressed into a knife. Edge. At my door. She didn't. Pause. Hand on the knob. She shoved. The bang when the door hit the wall yanked me awake. Eyes open. Woman in the doorway. Chest heaving. Eyes rimmed red. I knew this face. Seen it a few times. Not close. She studied me for 3 seconds. When she spoke, it was low. Each word ground out. Hospitalized. Why didn't you tell me? I blinked. Brain sluggish. Not because she was here. Because of something else. Who told you? She turned her face, crossing swiftly to the bed. Her gaze raked over my bandaged torso. Settled on the thick plaster cast. Eyes reddening further. Right leg fracture. 2 broken ribs. Yes? Did you read my chart? Lucas. Her voice jumped. Trembling. Why didn't you call me? I paused. What exactly are you to me? A clatter from the hall. A nurse. Dropped thermometer. Sophie Bennett froze. Lips quivered. Throat constricted. She inhaled sharply. Shut her eyes. Opened them. Say that again. You. Not my family. I said evenly. Hospital wants immediate next. Of. Kin. You done. Qualify. Then what am I? The question landed. My mind blanked. What was Sophie Bennett to me? Leaning back. I traced backward. Met her 3 months ago. I'd hauled tools into her office to fix a server. Alarm lights blazing red in the humming. Fan. Cool, dark. She stood nearby. Nails tapping the desk. Can you fix it? Yes. I didn't. Look up. Done. She scanned my WeChat QR code. For future issues. Work. Related. I typed. Then her messages came thicker. First. Legit server alert again. Code attached, then odd forgot router password. Guess? I replied usually on the sticker underneath. She sent a photo. Finger pointing at tiny text. Found it. Wizard. Then life. Sharing a snapshot of a new phone case. Like it? I zoomed in. Matches yesterday. Jacket. Cat. Spinning emoji. Dinner invites followed naturally. You. Helped so much. Least I can do. First dinner rooftop restaurant. City lights sprawling below. She cut steak slowly. Dawn. Just talk shop. She nudged her wine glass. Tell me about you. By the 4th or 5th meal. I reached for my wallet. This one. Mine. She pinned my wrist. Nails pale pink. Grip firm. My treat. No splitting checks. Tone cooled. Smile fixed. Eyes chilling. I withdrew. The watch came a week later. Deep blue velvet box. Company raffle extra prize. She shrugged. Tech guys need timepieces. I opened it. Cold metal gleam. Expensive. Too much. Just a prize. She snapped the lid shut. Shoving it into my coat pocket. Keep it or I toss it. Later. A coworker glimpsed it. Gasping. Patek Philippe? Lottery win? That night. I tried returning it. Sophie just pushed my hand away. Friends exchange gifts. Normal. Right? Like discussing weather. Reviewing every detail. I found the answer casual friend. I voiced it. Tentative. Sophie's expression froze solid. Like a bucket of ice water sluiced over her. Fingertips paling. She turned. Yanked open the door. Sucked 3 deep breaths in the empty hallway. Shoulders rising and falling. Returning. All emotion was wiped clean. Back to the sharp. Suited executive. Fine. Her voice was a frozen lake. Casual friends it is. As your friend. Effective immediately transfer to VIP. My expense. Really? That. Not negotiating. Phone already at her ear. Lisa. Arrange VIP suite. Tomorrow. Sarah. Contact Mercy General. S. Director. Now. 10 minutes. Callback regardless. She hung up. Eyes back on me. Driver. S. Name? Vance. Full? I shook my head. Her brows drew tight. Vance Properties? I shrugged. Her mouth tightened. Eyes chilling me deeper into the blankets. Understood. Phone vanished into her bag. She dragged a chair closer. Legs screeching on tile. I am staying. But, not your bed. I shut up. The antiseptic smell intensified. Friend visiting? Fine. Midnight arrival. Suite upgrades. Calling directors? Crossing lines. I watched a shadow in the ceiling corner until sleep came. Waking. The room was empty. Sophie gone. Air hung with antiseptic and fresh lilies. Propping up. I saw total transformation. 60. Square. Meter standalone VIP suite. Floor. 2. Ceiling windows framing the city skyline. Morning light slanting across warm. Gold floors. Bedside crowded with roses dewy. Lilies rampant. Imported cherries and grapes arranged like museum pieces. A nurse entered with a silver tray. Lifting my leg wrap with feather. Light touches. Pain. Mr. Sterling? Manageable. When did Ms. Bennett leave? 6 a.m. Gave instructions thrice. From under the tray. She slid a note. Sophie. S. Handwriting. Precise. Forceful strokes. Stay put. Rest. Lunch coming. Bottom line. Pen gouging deep, call yourself. Not family. Again. I break your other legs. I folded it. Tucking it under the pillow. The nurse left. Door sighing shut. Sunlight crept. Cherry. Red glinted. I set the note on the table. Fingertips cool from the paper. A woman truly enraged was worse than any storm. 10 a.m. Knocks. 3 measured raps. Expected Sophie early. Come in. Julian Vance entered. Today. S. Ensemble light gray casual suit. White tee. Hair perfect. More polished. Still flanked by 2 men. Plus a middle aged guy in wire. Rimmed glasses clutching a bulging briefcase. Julian paused mid-step inside the doorway. His gaze tracked the sitting area. The window wall. The stacked gift boxes and flowers. Brow furrowing. New digs. Arranged by a friend. I didn't. Move. Who? He stepped closer. Shoes clicking. I paused. A friend. Julian. S. shoulder relaxed almost imperceptibly. A tiny, familiar smirk tugged his lips. Contemptuous understanding. In his view. A coder. S. Friends. Maxed out at small. Time bosses providing temporary face. Fine. He settled into a chair. Ankle over knee. Let S. discuss settlement. His lawyer flipped open the briefcase. Snick. A printed contract slid onto the table. Mr. Sterling. Our proposed terms. The lawyer intoned smoothly. Based on diagnostics, Mr. Vance offers full coverage. Medical. Lost wages. Nutrition. Finger tapped the page. Total $150,000. I looked down. White paper. Dense clauses. Right leg fracture. 2 broken ribs $150,000. Lowball even by protocol. But I woon. T argue. Before speaking, Julian interjected. Point 1. 50. Lump sum. He leaned back, finger tapping the desk. Alone here? No one to drag this out. Delaying hurts you. There it was again, alone. Second time today. Finished. He smirked. That lazy, superior look. Watching a caged bird flutter. I stayed silent. Not angry. Footsteps echoed outside. Different. Not stilettos. Crispness. A group. Heavy. Rhythmic. Pressuring. Julian turned toward the door. It opened. Leading an older man. Late 50s. Gray Mao. Style jacket. Silver hair combed ruthlessly neat. Thin face. Eyes like knives. Behind him 4 men. 2 young. Sharp suits. Assistants. 2 more with briefcases. Attorneys. The old man. Gaze sliced past Julian. Pinning me. Stern features melted instantly. Brow knitting. Mouth tightening. Eyes reddening. He strode to the bed. Staring at my casts. My bandages. Hand trembled. Hovered. Withdrew. Who did this? Voice low. Thunderous. Swiveled to Julian. Gaze freezing. You? Julian. Mouth opened. Nothing coming. Face blanching. He scrambled up. Heel catching the chair. Scrape. Stumbling back until his spine hit the cold wall. Why, you? Throat tight. Voice trapped. Your identity? The elder ignored him. Half. Turning to an assistant. Retrieve all accident footage. Reports. Every related document. Nothing omitted. Assistant bowed. Understood. Mr. Sterling. Julian. Muscles locked. He stared at the immaculate gray jacket. A vague shape clicked into terrifying focus. Late 50s. Mouse suit. Addressed as Mr. Sterling. City. Wide. Name stabbed his temple. Jonathan Sterling. 15 years ago. The legend who wove real estate, finance, and healthcare into an empire. 5 years retired. Son Arthur Sterling now ran Sterling Group. But the name remained power. Julian. Blood drained. Mr. Sterling. Why, you? Voice shattered. Trailing off. The elder still didn't. Look at him. Turning. He lowered himself carefully into the chair beside my bed. Weathered hand covered my exposed one on the blanket. Warm. Steady. Lucas. He said my name gently. Coaxing. Does it hurt badly? Pause. Brow furrowing with authoritative concern. Such a serious incident. Why didn't you call Grandpa Jonathan first? I watched him quietly. 3 years prior. After my parents died. He knock most evenings. Thermos in hand. Cooked too much again. Can tea finish alone? Help an old man out? After I moved cities. Calls persisted. Liam? Eating regular meals? Hot soup even when busy? His voice gravelly warmth. Like sun. Dried cotton. Murmur agreement. Assuming a lonely retiree. Holiday red envelopes landed. 4 figures. I returned them. Next day. His chiding call. Stubborn boy. Until the ER. Antiseptic sting. Left arm plastered. Right hand clutching the accident report. Running footsteps. Jonathan Sterling. Deep gray mouse suit. Silver hair precise. Breath ragged from sprinting. Behind him Julian Vance. Who 10 minutes ago sneered. Don. T. Get ideas. At me. Mr. Sterling, sir. Please. Julian. S. voice shook. The old man ignored him. Grasping my good right hand. Palm warm. Trembling slightly. My old colleague. The deputy director. Mentioned over tea this morning. A young man named Lucas Sterling. Banged up pretty bad. He turned. Gaze scraping Julian. S face like sandpaper. How many share that name? Dropped his teacup and came straight. Julian. S. Adam. S. Apple bobbed violently. Recognition hit. Not the face. The name. Jonathan Sterling. Sterling Group. S. retired patriarch. Its web remained. His cough rattled foundations. Against it. The Vance family fortune wasn't. Even a ripple. Julian. S. spine hit the wall. Leaving a gray smear on his white jacket. The earlier arrogance? Vanished like smoke. Mr. Sterling. Julian croaked. Forcing a smile. Skin stretched tight. You and Mr. Sterling? Acquainted? Jonathan finally turned his head. Gaze weighted like a plumb bob. Acquainted. A sound huffed through his nose. My grandson. Julian. S. smile froze solid. Memories flooded the $150,000 check. The sneer. No one taught you manners? Knees liquefying. Clutching at straws. Adopted grandson. Not biological. Titles mean little. Mr. Sterling. Julian. S. voice dried. This. My oversight. Deeply regrettable. Expression crumpling. Waist bending subserviently. Rubbing hands together. Voice oily. Settlement? Flexible anything, name your figure. Jonathan didn't. Blink. Nearly half. Turned to a sharply suited. Silent man nearby. David. Handle it. By the law. Full compensation. Not a cent less. Julian. S. lawyer paled further. Recognizing David. And beside him. A senior partner from the city. S. top litigation firm. Mobilizing them for a traffic scrape? Not using a sledgehammer on a gnat. Deploying an ICBM on an ant. Grandpa Jonathan. I shifted slightly. Really? No need for. Listen. Lucas. Jonathan murmured. Dry palm patting my hand. His eyes held that unmovable gentleness. Let me handle this. I swallowed words. Chest tight. Not pain. Something squeezing gently. His protectiveness was clear. Yet in my mind, he was just the lonely widower next door. His constant talk of me as his adopted grandson. When did that happen? I rifled memory. Last Lunar New Year? He. dragged me into his apartment. Table laden. TV replaying the gala. Raising his glass. Hand trembling. Lucas. From now. You. My grandson. Trouble? Come straight to Grandpa. I'd been focused on the braised pork. Assuming tipsy rambling. Grunted vaguely. Never dreamed it was binding. Watching genuine concern etch his face. I drifted. Julian had already fled. Briefcase clutched. Nearly tripping at the door. Jonathan stayed over an hour. Hospital food tolerable? Nights noisy? Nurses rough? Questions falling like autumn leaves. Finally. Producing his phone. Private nurse? ILL arrange. Really? I am fine. I assured him. Seemingly satisfied. He rose slowly. At the door. He doubled back. Placing a black card gently on the bedside table. Craving anything? Call. Don. T. Skimp. I didn't. T touched the card. Watching its dull gleam on dark wood. Noon. Door opened. Sophie in a cream trench coat. Black dress. Carrying 2 insulated containers. Fresh made. Eat warm. She said. Setting them down. Lifting lids released pork rib soup. Aroma. Steam curling around side dishes. Her hand stilled. Eyes landing on the black card. Who left that? An elderly gentleman. Which? Neighbor. Jonathan Sterling. Sophie. Chopsticks hovered. Slowly. She straightened. Studying me. Something roiled beneath her surface. Suppressed into opaque calm. Sterling Group. That Jonathan Sterling? Former neighbor. Sophie stayed silent. Roughly 5 seconds passed before lowering her chopsticks. Retreating to a chair. Arms crossed. Her gaze raked me. Head to toe. Exactly how many things about you, Dawn? I know? Voice low. Each word squeezed through clenched teeth. I opened my mouth. What? Your connection to him? She stepped closer. Heels striking tile. What exactly? Neighbors. I said. He insists I am his adopted grandson. Pause. Probably just words. Just words? Her pitch spiked. A violin string snapping. Jonathan Sterling. Adopted grandson? You think that? Casual? I was speechless. A bird fluttered past the window. He. Just a retired old man. I offered. Cardigan. Birdcage. Wandering the courtyard. Sophie laughed. A quiet sound. Rattling up from her throat. Catching halfway. Lucas. She shook her head. He. The wealthiest man in this city. Was. Adding those 2 letters. Her eyes pinned me. My cup wobbled. Water spotting the table. Seriously? No reply. Just a long. Shuddering inhale. Slow exhale. So lengthy I heard her chest vibrate. Then she shut her eyes. Lashes casting faint shadows. Lips moving. Leaning closer. She was counting. 1 to 10. Mouthing silently. Like chanting. At 10. Eyes opened. Turbulence smoothed into ice. Eat? She said. Ladling soup with brisk precision. Spoon chimed against the bowl. But tension vibrated in her knuckles. Whitening them. I buried my face in the soup. Mute. Mid-sip. My phone vibrated beside the pillow. Unknown number. Lucas Sterling. A mature man. Voice. Low. Graveled. Inherently commanding. Speaking. With whom? Arthur Sterling. The name rolled. Familiarity stirred. Before I placed it. Father visited yesterday. Updated me. You. Re-injured. I'll stop by this afternoon. Truly. No need. No trouble. He cut in. Since father acknowledges you as his grandson. You. My nephew. Family. No formalities. Click. I held the phone. Unmoving. Jonathan. S. son. Current Sterling Group CEO. Remembered now. Seen his angular face. Sharp. I'd gaze on financial news. Sophie had been watching my face. Who? Voice barely audible. Jonathan Sterling. S. son. Visiting this afternoon. Sophie. S. chopsticks froze mid-air. No immediate response. Just sliding them onto the bowl. S. edge. Sinking back into the chair. Staring at the ceiling light. Exhaling long and hard. Utterly unsurprised. You. She turned back. Enunciating. Will stop telling people you have no family. I considered. But they aren't. Technically. Quiet. She interrupted. Pushing the soup bowl toward me. Drink. I obeyed. 2:00 p.m. 3 black rolls. Royce's blocked the ER entrance. 6 black. Suited bodyguards deployed first. Arthur Sterling emerged from the center car. Navy bespoke suit draping a tall frame. Gold. Rimmed spectacles. Superficially refined. But an oppressive aura radiated proximity. Entering. Sophie hadn't. Left yet. Their gazes collided. Ms. Bennett. Arthur acknowledged. Mildly surprised or expecting it. Mr. Sterling. Sophie rose. Not offering a hand. Nodding fractionally. Arthur. S. glance skimmed her lowered hand. Then settled on me. Brow arching. You two know each other? Friends. Sophie supplied. Lashes lowering. Casting faint shadows. Arthur didn't. Pursue it. Approaching the bed. He leaned down. Bringing a faint scent of antiseptic and leather. His gaze tracked from my bandaged forehead to the plastered leg. Younger than photos. Straightening. Spectacles glinting. Father constantly mentions the neighbor boy. Reliable. Fixing pipes. Moving boxes. Playing chess during New Year. Though everyone agrees father plays terribly. Grandfather. Chess is terrible. Arthur cut in. A wry smile touching his lips. Family consensus. I shut my mouth. He pulled over a chair. Scrape. The smile faded. Vance kid hit you. Ran the report. Red light. Excessive speed. Sole fault. I'll handle it. Pause. Rest. Uncle Arthur. Really. Call me uncle. He insisted. Rough palm patting my shoulder. Leather and tobacco scent. Father claimed you. You. Sterling family now. Touch you. Vance boy insults our face. Tone level. Like discussing weather. But behind him. Bodyguards. Mouths twitched. Thin. Blade. Like smiles. I understood the Vance family faced ruin. Arthur didn't. Linger. Leaving supplements. He slid a slim paper onto the table. I glimpsed the check figure. Finger hesitating. I flipped it face down. The light paper weighed heavily. Sophie observed everything from her corner chair. After the door sealed, she spoke. Who else do you know? I pondered. No one else. She stared. Suspicion thick. The next 2 days, the ward became a revolving door. Next morning, a woman in her 40s. Tailored cheongsam. Jade bangle translucent as water. Skin meticulously maintained. Looking early 30s. Tears sprang instantly upon entering. Lucas. Voice breaking. Aunt Clara heard. Heart shattered. Rushing to the bedside. Seizing my hand. Tears splashing my skin. I searched memory. Aunt Clara? Mom's closest friend. After Mom passed, she visited. Pressing money, I refused. Then she emigrated. Assumed never seeing her again. When did you return? Landed day before yesterday. She swiped tears. Voice sharpening. Rushed straight here, child. Such a calamity, why not contact Aunt Clara? No contact details. Couldn't. Inquire? Digging a phone. Dialing. David here, Lucas is hospitalized. Yes. Elena. Boy, hurry. Within half an hour, the door opened again. A man near 50. Charcoal jacket over a thickening frame. Square face etched with a deep vertical groove. Perpetually pondering dilemmas. He glanced at Clara. Then at me. Elena's son. Approaching. Shoes whispering on tile. Feature your mother's eyes. Clara circled behind. Damp cloth wiping antiseptic from my hand. My husband. David. Call him Uncle David. Uncle David. Saturday. Not asking injuries. Extracting a manila folder from his briefcase. Settling it on his knee. Traffic Bureau. He stated. Finger on the tie. String. Pulled monitors and reports from the intersection. Tone bureaucratic. Vance. Koyan. Untying the string. Sliding out papers. 0.60% over limit. Red light violation. Top sheet turned toward me. Sole fault. Pause. Finger tapping the folder edge. But one element missing from official records. Which? His BAC that night. Uncle David looked up. Twice the legal limit. Silence crashed down. The 4 drip. Plink suddenly loud. Clara spun. Towel dropping. DUI. Lower voice. Uncle David hushed Clara. Gaze fixed on me. Opening the folder with deliberate slowness. Extracting a paper. Official report scrubbed this data. Pulled raw records via my tech contact at the lab. Copy pushed toward me. Paper cool. I looked down. Julian Vance. Name. ID number. Time post. Accident 40 minutes. Blood alcohol level column, a glaring red arrow pointing upward. I set the paper down. So not just speeding through a red. He hit me drunk. Different charge entirely. Uncle David continued evenly. Traffic injury? Settle with cash. DUI causing major injury? Pause. Prison sentence. His knuckles whitened on the folder. Vance family intervened. Technician reassigned to a provincial branch overnight. No handover. Disappeared. He set the folder down softly. They tried buying my silence. More. Uncle David lifted his gaze. Once indicted. Julian faces minimum 3 years. Vance family can. T. Afford that scandal. Clara surged up. Pacing. Click. 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 David tolerate this? Evidence submitted. Uncle David patted his briefcase. This morning. Internal affairs. Buried documents? Unearth them all. Looking at me. Briefcase locking with a snick. Lucas. Your decision. Waiting. Money? Or justice? Antiseptic stung sharply. I counted 3 heartbeats. Procedure. Uncle David nodded. Neither surprised nor approving. Rising. Tucking the worn briefcase under his arm. Good. I'll manage proceedings. Heal. Updates forthcoming. Turning to leave. Pausing at the door. Your mother saved Clara once. Real help. Debts repaid ease my conscience. Clara. By the window. Turned away quickly. Swiping under her eye. After Uncle David left. Clara stayed nearly an hour. Ladling soup. Blowing it cool. Feeding me spoonfuls. Endless instructions turning schedules. Nurse calls. Night coughs. Leaving. She lingered at the door. Finally. Rest well. Tomorrow. Aunt Clara returns. Door clicked shut. Lock engaged. Silence returned. Broken only by the 4's strip. Leaning back. Sunset slanted through the window. Painting along. Warm stripe across the floor. So many people today. Jonathan Sterling. Arthur Sterling. Sophie Bennett. Aunt Clara. Uncle David. Revolving through the sterile space of antiseptic and cold water. I raised my hand. Studying my palm for a long time. 420. 6 years. I believed myself utterly alone. Parents gone. I filled hours with work. Apartment. Cubicle. Cubicle. Apartment. Weekends buying weekly groceries. Holidays coding. Contacting no one. Assuming no one recalled me. Yet today. They came. Jonathan Sterling rubbing his hands. Every spring festival. I set the board. Wondering if you come. Aunt Clara gripping my sleeve. Neighbors always asked. How? The boy? And Sophie. The memory of her slamming the door. Eyes reddened. Chest heaving as if sprinting the hallway length. Hospitalized. Why didn't you tell me? Voice trembling. Anger. Anxiety. Something unnamed. Unprocessed even now. Unlocking my phone. Opening Sophie's chat. Latest message last night. What for lunch tomorrow? Kitchen prepping. Finger hovering over the keyboard. Typing. Deleting. Retyping. Deleting. Finally. 3 words: pork rib soup. Screen blowed. Instant reply okay. Staring at that word for seconds before dimming the screen. Closing my eyes. That tightness returned. Not bone. Deep. But different. Like a net weaving itself around me. Every strand tied to one person. Just after 8:00 p.m. A nurse changing my dressing. Mid-wrap. Footsteps outside. Wrong. Feigned calm failing. Rhythm faltering. The door opened. A man in his 50s. Navy jacket. Hair combed into a rigid part. Face resembling Julian's, but gravitas replacing youth. Robert Vance. Vance Properties. Chairman. Behind him, Julian shrinking in the shadows. Head bowed. A secretary. Face ashen. Robert didn't enter immediately. Scanning the room assessingly before stepping forward. Shoes whispering. Each step tautening my eardrums. Pausing 3 seconds inside the door. Attempting a conciliatory smile. It stiffened halfway. The sweet dwarfed expectations. Floor. 2. Ceiling windows showcasing the city. Diamond. Scatter lights. Bedside stacked with flowers and hampers. Topmost a business card. White card. Black lettering Arthur Sterling. Robert stared at it for 2 seconds. Color draining further. Breath shallowing. Mr. Sterling. He approached the bed. Voice lowered. Came to see you. Sit. I gestured. He took a chair. Hands folded on knees. Knuckles whitening. Air hummed with the AC. Finally lifting his head. Regarding my son. Parental failure. Poorly raised. Voice hushed. Conspiratorial. Visit tonight serves 2 purposes: concern and swallowing. Atonement. Beckoning the secretary, who produced a document from the briefcase. Presenting it with both hands. Robert placed it on the bedside table. Mr. Sterling. Revised settlement. Full medical coverage. Plus compensatory damages. Pause. $3 million. Demonstrating Vance's sincerity. Resolution sought. $3 million. I stared at the ceiling. 20 times Julian's initial $150,000 check. Ignoring the document. Mr. Vance. I began. Yes? Point 1 question. Did your son consume alcohol the night he hit me? Robert's color vanished. Mouth opening. Only a choked sound escaping. I possess the toxicology report. I continued evenly. Blood drawn within 40 minutes post. Impact. Back twice the legal limit. Turning my head. A copy reached internal affairs at 5:00 this evening. Robert seemed boneless. Forehead beating sweat under harsh lights. Mr. Sterling. Perhaps we could negotiate. Uncle David informed me. I interrupted. DUI causing grave injury carries a mandatory minimum 3-year sentence. Your son's counsel likely confirmed this. Robert's mouth worked silently. Sitting. Fingers digging into his trouser knees. Fabric straining. Joints bluing. Silence solidified for 10 seconds. He rose slowly. Decades in commerce. Backbone bowed. Eyes reddening. Mr. Sterling. My failure raising him. Reckless. Arrogant. My fault entirely. But. Inhaling sharply. 22 years old. 3 years. Incarceration destroys a young man. I stayed silent. Increase compensation. Robert leaned forward. $0.5 million? 8? Sign the affidavit of understanding. Name your price. Mr. Vance. When your son visited initially. Aware of my condition. What was his reaction? Robert looked blank. He asked my status. I stated right leg fracture. 2 broken ribs. He laughed. Here. Out loud. Robert's mouth twitched spasmodically. Laughter predicated on my disclosure. No family. I studied his cuff trembling minutely. No advocates. No accountability. No pursuit. Your current negotiation tactic mirrors his attitude precisely. Pause. You assume sufficient funds erase all transgressions. Meeting his eyes. But Mr. Vance. Certain matters transcend currency. Robert's lips moved soundlessly. Staggering back. Heel scraping tile sharply. The secretary caught his elbow. He turned and stumbled out. Door ajar. Hallway light slicing a diagonal shaft. Julian's muffled voice. Dad? Settled? No reply. Then. Smack. A crisp slap reverberated down the silent corridor. Fading slowly. I picked up my phone. Screen glowing. Sophie's message from 20 minutes prior: bone broth tomorrow. Skip the cafeteria pig slop. Attached a photo of her kitchen stove. Clay pot simmering. Steam misting the air. Studying it for a long time. Typing slowly. OK. Finger hovering over the screen. Icy edge. Adding Uncle David Traffic Bureau showed me Julian's BAC results. Documented. Silence for a full minute. Screen illuminating with Sophie's name. Answering. DUI? Her voice slammed into me. Slightly breathless. Confirmed? Original copy? Raw data lodged with internal affairs. Only static hum on the line. She. D moved the phone away. I heard a soft, elongated exhale. Surfacing for air. Lucas. She enunciated clearly. Comprehend the ramifications? Imprisonment. Beyond incarceration. To bury this report. The Vances bribed operatives. Once Internal Affairs investigates, they unravel the entire rotten root structure of Vance Properties. Collapse beyond monetary remedy. Pause. Imagining her expression, brow knit. Fingers tapping the desk unconsciously. Your accident. She continued. Is no longer an accident. It's the finger tipping the first domino. Fearful? Yes. Fear the inferno rages beyond containment? A sigh. Feather. Light. Not fear of scale. Her voice dipped. Softer. Faster. Nearly vanishing. But I caught it. Disconnecting. I leaned back. City lights fractured into prisms on the glass. Highway streams dragging luminous tails. Ceaselessly crawling. Previously. My rental faced a concrete wall. Now. This vista overseeing half the metropolis felt alien. As if genetically predisposed to that gray expanse. Phone vibrating. Sophie, sleep early. Tomorrow noon. Another clay pot photo. Zooming in on the countertop, a cookbook splayed open. Bold lettering: pork bone medicinal soup. Dog. Eared pages. Fluorescent underlining. Magnifying the text: calcium supplementation directives for fracture recovery. Trailing ink blurred by steam. Setting down the phone. That tightness constricting my chest again. A hand squeezing my heart slowly. Day 3. Events accelerated unpredictably. 9:00 a.m. Uncle David called. Voice low. Unable to suppress excitement. Internal Affairs indicted. The technician Vance bribed? In custody. Being transferred back. Robert Vance summoned by economic crimes this morning. Vance Properties HQ under audit. Gripping the phone. Already? Those 3 rolls. Royce's outside yesterday? A declaration. The entire circle noted Sterling Group's stance. Parking them at the ER entrance broadcasted unequivocally. Pause. That the injured young man in bed? Arthur Sterling guarantees his protection. Silence. Finger picking at the phone case edge. Point one more thing. Uncle David. Tone deepening. Morning headlines. Viewed them? No. Julian Vance remanded. Criminal detention? Not administrative detention. Hours and release. DUI causing grave injury. Ironclad evidence. Prosecutor signing arrest warrants presently. His father? I asked. Robert Vance. Temporary bail pending investigation. All accounts. Properties frozen. Economic crimes preliminarily uncovered. Significantly graver offenses than his son. DUI. Illegal land grabs. Loan fraud. Commercial bribery. Any single charge sufficient for severe sentencing. Clearing his throat gravely. Lucas. U. Haven. T toppled nearly an individual. U. VE destabilized the entire Vance empire. Dial tone buzzed after disconnecting. Unlocking the phone. Screen light stinging my eyes. Local news headline trending: Vance Properties chairman summoned, multiple projects halted. Comments boiling like father. Like son. Dad corrupt. Junior emboldened. Heard victim was a nobody coder they tried silencing with cash. Serve them right. More than a nobody. Hospital presence extended beyond the Sterling clan. Scrolling. Screen dimming. Tossing the phone aside. Skull resting against the cool headboard. Eyes closing. Footsteps in the corridor. Click. 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 Stilettos. Sharper today. But rhythm slower. Each step weighted. Grounded. Rustling plastic bags accompanying. Halting outside the door. Upon opening. Medicinal aroma preceded Sophie. Still in the severe gray suit. Hair coiled tightly. But carrying a squat clay pot. Steam spiraling upward. Juxtaposition jarring. Merger documents stuffed into a stew pot. She settled the pot on the bedside table. SSS. Metal scorched by heat. Producing a white ceramic bowl and spoon from her oversized tote. Lifting the lid released medicinal fragrances overwhelming the antiseptic. Angelica. Astragalus. Codonopsis. Listing ingredients evenly. Like reciting project specs. Goji berries. Red dates. Traditional formula for fracture recovery. Accepting the bowl. Blowing gently. Heat intense. Herbal depth coating my throat. Leaving unexpected sweetness upon swallowing. Learned soup. Making? I asked. Sophie crossed her legs gracefully in the chair. Hands folded atop her knee. Posture indistinguishable from boardroom demeanor. Difficult? Chin lifting slightly. Heat control. Timing. Ingredient ratios? Simpler than calculating earn. Out clauses. Familiar with earn. Outs. Consume your soup. She deflected. Gaze returning to the bowl. Signaling continuation. 2 more sips. Setting down the bowl. Clink. Julian Vance. I stated. Meeting her eyes. Remanded. Aware. Sophie replied. Gaze shifting from the window. Expression unreadable save for a fingertip tapping her kneecap once. Lightly. Robert Vance also summoned. This afternoon. Development. Arthur Sterling. Call came at 7 o'clock a.m. Vance Properties. Stock. Opened limit. Down. Market cap evaporated nearly 40% within hours. Pause. Understood? Understood. After disconnecting, Sophie sat opposite, reviewing documents. Head not lifting. Arthur Sterling. Currently treating this as a personal matter. Closing the folder. Lifting a water glass. Lipstick imprint left on the rim. Vance family. S collapse runs deep. Economic crimes uncovered illegal collateralization of the East District parcel. Sums exceeding hundreds of millions. Setting down the glass. Clink. Once that thread unravels. Sophie lifted her gaze. Robert Vance. S hope for unscathed retreat? Impossible. Her gaze altered. Assessing something fragile. Comprehend why Arthur Sterling exerts such effort? Leaning back. Because I am nominally his nephew. Because you played chess with his father for 3 years. Sophie stated slowly, weighing each syllable. Jonathan Sterling? I know him. Retired for years. When has he interfered in commercial disputes? Leaning forward slightly. Yet regarding your situation, he mobilizes his son unconditionally. Sterling Group. S entire legal team currently prioritizes your case. Pause. Speculate why. A bird flitted past the window. Grandfather Jonathan perceives my regard toward him. Not perception. Sophie held my gaze. Voice lowering. You demonstrated genuine regard. You assume accompanying a lonely elderly man for chess games and a new year. S meal constitutes triviality. Shaking her head slightly. To him. You represent the sole individual post. Retirement who expected absolutely nothing material. Yet offered authentic companionship. Another pause. A trace of vexation coloring her tone. You. Lucas Sterling. Are peculiar. Consistently kind to everyone. Stirring the soup bowl. Yet seemingly indifferent whether that kindness is reciprocated or remembered. Soup rippling. As if. Inherently believing yourself undeserving of others. Consideration. I offered no response. Lowering my gaze to the soup. Herb sediments swirling at the bottom. Sophie rose. Approaching the window. Back toward me. The city skyline at dusk framed by glass. Extended silence. Lucas. Contemplate. Why I persistently solicited dinners. My hand stilled mid-air. Because. Your computer malfunctioned frequently? Turning her head. Backlit. Her features obscured. But the slight curve of her lips unmistakable. Wry amusement. That computer? Functioned flawlessly following your initial repair. Staring into the soup. Subsequent service requests? Her tone even. Self. Engineered. Disconnecting the network cable personally before summoning you. Silence thick enough to hear the foredrip. Plink. Plink. Disconnected the cable? Thrice. Gazing outward again. Fourth instance deemed excessively contrived. Henceforth pivoting to feigned ignorance regarding why. Phi credentials. Why. Phi password adheres to the router. S underside. Acknowledged. Interjecting. However. Absent such pretexts. Your inherent nature renders securing your company impossible. Mouth opening. Words trapped in my throat. Sophie rotated from the window. Sunset backlighting her silhouette. Gilding her edges. Intensity overwhelming facial details. Save for her right hand. Thumb and forefinger unconsciously twisting the cool metal buckle on her suit skirt. S belt. An uncharacteristic tell. Lucas. Her tone flattened. Reciting project documentation. These 3 months. Every shared meal. Every requested assistance. Every transmitted message. Deliberate. Neither coincidence nor gratitude. Pause. Intent increased proximity. The bowl warmed uncomfortably in my grasp. Replacing it on the table. Ting. Therefore. Voice arid. That night? Your entry. Eyes reddened? Sophie remained silent. Returning her gaze outdoors. Fingers still twisting the buckle. Fear. Of what? Fear you. Revert to assuming absolute self. Reliance regarding all adversity. Voice attenuated. Dredged upward from profound depths. Receiving that call. Mental imagery solely comprised you supine outside the oar. Informing the nurse. I have no family. Pause. Subsequently bursting into this ward. Intercepting your inaugural statement. You scarcely qualify as family. Rotating toward me. The redness at her eye corners diluted like pigment diffusing in water. Lucas Sterling. Authentic incomprehension? Or disingenuous evasion? I sustain silence. Exterior illumination progressively dimming. Sunset transitioning from amber to slate. Building illuminations sequentially activating. Upon the nurse's entrance. Sophie had already straightened. Arms folded. Absorbing reported vitals. Occasional nods. Yet fingernails embedded into her forearm. Post. Departure. Consulting her wristwatch. Departing. Extracting an insulated flask from her tote. Positioning it at the bedside. Edge. Corporate board convenes tomorrow morning. Flask contacting wood. Tap. Toward the door. Stilettos striking tile with abbreviated cadence. Hesitating at the threshold. Back turned. Lucas. You previously categorized us as casual friends. Tone attenuated. Trailing consonants constricted. Effective immediately. Might that classification elevate? To what designation? Speculate. Door opening. Resealing. Corridor stilettos resuming. Accelerating. Beat echoing escape from encroaching sentiment. Reclining against the pillow. Gaze fixing upon the bedside. Insulated flask emitting tendrils of vapor from its lid fissure. Adjacent. The clay pot emptied. Residual oily broth adhering to the rim. Retrieving my phone. Screen luminescence piercing the gloom. Contacts. Sophie Bennett. The annotation bar persisting Ms. Bennett, Technova CEO. Prolonged observation. Digit hovering over the delete function momentarily before depressing. Ms. Bennett dissolved. Methodically inputting 2 characters. Saving. Sophie. Unadorned. Title. Free. Those 2 syllables quiescently occupying the directory. Apex. Analogous to an inadvertently deposited seed within my psyche. Insensibly germinating roots. Phone vibrating abruptly. Screen illuminating. Sender freezing my digits Julian Vance. Presumably incarcerated, cellular devices confiscated. Accessing. Singular line Mr. Sterling. This is counsel for Robert Vance. Client requests a personal meeting. Location and timing per your discretion. Kindly accord this appeal utmost consideration. Reviewing the text twice. Screenshot transmitted to Uncle David. Immediate reply: Robert Vance exhausted resistance during economic crimes interrogation. Disclosed comprehensively. Currently petitioning for your signature on the affidavit of understanding to mitigate Julian's sentencing. Attend or decline. Your prerogative. Initiating response. Screen relighting. Incoming Arthur Sterling. Lucas. Tomorrow 3 p.m. Legal team arriving at the hospital to execute documents. Vance affairs delegated entirely. Additionally, your employer contacted me today. Full salary guaranteed during convalescence, project reassigned. Focus exclusively on recuperation. Reviewing this message iteratively. Await. Arthur Sterling referenced. Your employer. The proprietor of my 20. Employee startup? Sterling Group. S. Arthur Sterling interacting with my rent. Burdened boss? Unless. Rapidly scrolling chat history. 3 days prior. Regaining consciousness. Sophie appropriating my phone. IILL notify your workplace. Eyelashes lowered. Digits flying across the screen. Retrospectively. Velocity inconsistent with standard leave notification. Direct intervention at my company premises. Orchestrating resolutions via her characteristically temperate yet non-negotiable methodology. Screen darkening. Reflecting my vacuous visage. Ceiling luminescence abrasive. Sophie. S. prior proclamation resonating distinctly. Have you genuinely never contemplated why I perpetually solicited your company for meals? Contemplation occurred frequently. Invariably suppressed. A woman manifesting punctually beneath my residence weekly. Rationales migrating from circumstantial passage to culinary novelty sampling. Subsequently evolving into voucher utilization to preclude wastage. Each justification marginally plausible. Each timing suspiciously calibrated. Mere apprehension regarding deductive extrapolation. Fear of erroneous conclusions precipitating embarrassment. Greater trepidation regarding accurate conclusions yielding incapacity regarding subsequent conduct. This cognition emerging. Instinctive suppression ensued. Initiation of contemplation necessitated confrontation with the paralytic inquiry: what intrinsic attributes warrant such meticulous investment from an individual of her stature? Resolution absent. Yet Sophie's telephonic actions proffered response: desist contemplation. Acceptance suffices. Screen re-illuminating. Accessing our dialogue interface. Keying a solitary line. Devoid of preamble or contextualization. Modified your directory annotation. Transmission affected. Status bar indicating active composition. Reply materializing to what designation? Sophie. Recipient silence approximating 15 seconds. Phone vibrating. Auditory message. Accessing. Transducer approximating my auditory meatus. Her articulation commingling with vehicular ambient noise. Attenuated yet distinct. Lucas. Mm. During our imminent interaction. Pause. Background horn blaring. Experiment with vocalizing my designation alternatively. To what alternative? Cease employing. Ms. Bennett. Termination of audio transmission. Residual locution unarticulated. Comprehension achieved. Gripping the phone. Initial laughter within this chamber materializing. Subdued. Involuntary. Afternoon of the 4th day. Wrapping at the ward portal. Arthur Sterling. S. Legal cohort. 3 individuals. Attaché cases. Punctually manifested. Scale exceeding anticipations. Quaternity occupied the space. Led counsel a female attorney approximately 50th decade. Plaid and tailored charcoal ensemble. Self. Identifying as Sterling Group. S. General Counsel. Mandibular elevation during discourse conveying inherent authority. Trio of juniors in ebony suits. Cases distended. General Counsel occupied the chair adjacent to my bed. Leather whispering against tile. Portfolio unfurling. Diction rapid. Newscast cadence. Mr. Sterling. Vance Properties. Litigation formally instituted. Representing your interests regarding criminal incidental civil action. Pause. Gaze traversing my cranial bandaging. Primary prosecution for reckless endangerment, vehicular. Secondary restitution. Enumerating. Medical expenditures. Lost earnings. Nursing care. Disability indemnity. Psychological trauma. Aggregate preliminary assessment $5.2 million. Gaze fixed upon the ceiling luminaire. $5.2 million. Initially proffered $150,000. I remarked. Oral angle twitching. Not mirth. Rather reflexive acknowledgement of naivete. Preceding valuation. Extracting parchment. Proffering. Paper margin incising atmosphere. Crisp resonance. Received anti-meridium. Vance counter. Proposal. Accepting. Chromatic numerals dominating ocular field. $8 million proffered. General Counsel stated evenly. Contingent upon execution of the affidavit of understanding and endorsement of suspended sentencing for Julian Vance. Reposing the document upon the counterpane. $8 million. Numeric prominence against alabaster linen. $8 million. Judicial claim approximating $5 million. Monetary irrelevance to Robert Vance presently. General Counsel elucidated. Extracting ophthalmic frames. Polishing lenses with chamois. Primary concern his 22 year old heir. Incarceration exceeding 3 years probable. Liquid assets predominantly frozen, divestment of residential properties achievable to procure $8 million. Incremental $3 million procuring exemption from custodial sentencing. Repositioning the settlement agreements centrally. Counsel inquires regarding execution? General Counsel delayed immediate response. Accessing alternate portfolio. Extracting operational dossier. Proffering. Compiled Julian Vance. S. Driving historiography. Triennial licensure. Undecuplet traffic violations excessive velocity. Signal contravention. Emergency lane encroachment. Improper lane transition. Tertiary collisions duopoly privately adjudicated. Singular insurance. Mediated. Zero penal point assessments. Pause. Rationale underlying such conduct by a 22 year old. Portfolio closure. Snap. Presumption of perpetual remediation by influential entities irrespective of transgression magnitude. General Counsel reinstating ophthalmic frames. Gaze tranquil. Execution of the affidavit. Mr. Sterling. Constitutes your sovereign determination. Counsel. S. Obligation entails sole admonishment. Incrementally advancing the agreement. These inscribed characters potentially procure more extensive concessions than mitigated sentencing. Silence attained particulate density. Exterior luminescence transecting Venetian aperture fissures. Projecting rectilinear alternations of illumination and obscurity across the portfolio. Prolonged quiescence. Exceeding General Counsel. S. Expectation threshold. Non-execution. I stated. General Counsel. S. Physiognomy registering neither surprise nor approbation. Merely inclining cephalad. Extracting supplementary parchment from the valise. Substantial. Acuminate margins. Proceeding per original trajectory. Proffering the instrument. Instrument of attorney requires autographic endorsement. Accepting the stylus. Frigid. Weighty barrel. Apex suspending above the principal rubric. Vacancy. Temporal hiatus. Subsequently inscribing Lucas Sterling. Terminal stroke coalescing with mnemonic intrusion triduum prior. Julian Vance centralizing within this rudimentary ward. Impacting a gilt card upon the polymer countertop. Crack. Vibration dissipating. Articulating with presumptive derision. Solitary individual. Devoid of lineage. Provocative potential negligible. Initial reticence attributable to subconscious concordance with this assertion. Presently. Visual trajectory traversing plaintiff Lucas Sterling within the instrument. Typography. Traversing general counsel. Retinue. Demeanor professional. Concentration focused. Traversing the panoramic fenestration exposing Sterling Group. Ebony rolls. Royce's idling beneath solar irradiation. Chassis contours austere. Analogous to dormant lorica. Grasping this insubstantial dossier. Cognitive recognition crystallized certain contingencies transcend feasibility inquiries. Pertinent inquiry necessitates identification of entities predisposed toward orientational realignment predicated upon one's behalf. Subsequent to general counsel. Egress. Portal reopening. And Clara. Manifestation. Sinistral carriage of thermal vessel. Dextral conveyance of dilapidated valise. Textile abraded. Zipper compromised. Introgression. Depositing luggage proximate to the divan. Zipper rasping laterally. Systematic extraction azure. Albescent patient attire. Neatly folded, slip. Resistant podiatric footwear, vintage cashmere throw, cervical support cushion, portable energy cell, peony. Emblazoned vacuum flask, periodicals exhibiting marginal delamination, unopened nut enclosure, jujube aggregate. Diligent excavation proximal to the valise fundus yielding a diminutive plush ursine. Palm. Dimensional. Umber pelage bleached. Flaccid. Sinister auricle exhibiting suturing via erratic peak. Thread extremities exposed. Dexter auricle affixed with a decolorized pinkish. White polymeric floral barrette. Positioning the ursine precisely upon the bedside stand. Orientation adjusted toward the bed. Retreating minutely. Ocular inspection. Exhalation of relief. This ursine specimen. Indicating. Procured jointly with your mater at department stores decades prior. Your insistence upon possession. Refractory relinquishment. Gaze transferring to the barrette. Floral adjunct post. Applied by your mater. Infantile febrile episode. Hyperthermic delirium. Recognition of personnel. Exclusive ursine adherence. Resistance toward confiscation. Ocular fixation upon the ursine. Auricular suturing. Arachnidiform. Coarse. Tailor craftsmanship. Maternal provenance exclusively. And Clara. Phonation arid. Provenance of these artifacts? Manual traversal across the evacuated valise. Smoothing existent plications. Your mater. Mortem. Pause. Ocular elevation. Entrusted safekeeping of a repository. Stipulation incremental restitution contingent upon maturation. Seating adjacent. Affective modulation attenuating. Gravitas approximating abyssal aqueous depth. Decennial withholding motivated by apprehension regarding affective distress upon viewing. Subcutaneous excavation within the valise. Phonation subdued. Contemplation recurrent validity of your mater. S. Assessment. Digital contact with my frontotemporal lock of hair. Repositioning retroauricularly. Mrs. Lee's historical pronouncement. Persistent dissonance. Contemporary validation. Temporal inclination. Effect modulating like Aeolian. Agitated hydrosphere. Your recumbent state. Clinical inquiry regarding familial existence. Negatory response. Inspiratory exertion. Vibratory. Volitional stabilization. Lucas. Auditory perception by your mater. Cardiac fragmentation inevitable. Maxillary separation. Aphonia. Lacrimation spontaneous. Thermal. Descending linearly. Impact upon the pentatic natal photograph. Precisely superjacent to maternal orbicular occlusion. Absence of ablation. Desiccation chronology obliterated. Triennial glacial encapsulation. Initial fissuration. Aunt Clara verbosity ceased. Divan approximation. Ligneous pedestal abrading flooring. Attenuated susurration. Manual traction drawing me laterally. Palmar dorsoventral percussion. Attenuated. Decelerated. Analogous to perinatal somnolence induction. Lacrimation facilitates catharsis. Phonation profoundly subdued. Nasally congested. Aqueous. Saturated. Maternal surveillance from empyrean. Primary distress source absolute autonomous burden assumption. Lacrimation achieving confluent inundation. Exterior illumination transitioning from albedoic intensity toward tepid ochre. Aunt Clara. S. Scapular textile. Slate. Food. Hygroscopically darkened. Integument. Adherent. Residual sobbing subsiding. Presentation of crumpled cellulose tissue. Subsequent lumbar flexion. Excavation within the valise profundity. Polyethylene. Enveloped aggregation. Maternal savings. Sequential polyethylene ablation. Decelerated. Analogously to sanctified relic deconstruction. Purported bridal provision. Endoreplication of erythroid parchments. Marginal delamination. And dual plastic fiscal instruments. Manual transduction into my grasp. $186,000. Immutable. Metropolitan Sanitary Engineering acquisition prohibitive regarding this liquidity presently. Maternal monthly revenue approximating $2,000 epically. Incremental parsimony from nutritional allocations. Ocular fixation upon the parchment superscription remitter Elena Sterling. Orthography conspicuously dysgraphic. Strokes erratically convergent. Sterling. Terminal flourish tremulous. Near. Separation. Sustained ocular adhesion immutable. Aunt Clara. S. Egress coincident with nocturnal totality. Portal aperture. Cephalic rotation. Ocular fixation upon the auricularly. Deficient plush ursine. Prolonged inspection. Labial micromotion. Lucas. MM. Prospective clinical inquiry regarding familial existence. Responsive protocol? Pharyngeal constriction approximating thermal particulates. Maxillary separation. Affirmative. Specific identities? Aunt Clara. Grandfather Jonathan proximate to the lane. S. Terminus. Proprietor David at the mercantile kiosk. Exterior luminaire activation. Snap. Amber irradiation transecting the ward. Phonatory detection attenuated. Distinct. Sophie Bennett. Aunt Clara. S. Ocular illumination abrupt. Sophie Bennett? Ebony suiting from yester. Diurnal observation? Affirmative. Active courtship pursuant. Cognitive opacity regarding this reality? Digital manipulation of counterpane margins. Cognitive transparency presently. Expiratory pulsation via nasal passage. Lacrimal desiccation incomplete. Digital contact with my frontal region. Petrified cerebral cortex achieving enlightenment. Exacting reciprocal consideration imperative. Acknowledged. Valise conveyance toward the portal. Liminal re-entry. Prospective juvenile introduction to the matriarch. Benevolent fiscal endowment forthcoming. Portal locking mechanism. Click. Reclination against the headboard. Parchment thermal retention within the palm. $186,000. Sanitary engineering fixture procurement prohibitive contemporaneously. Yet maternal apical revenue approximated $2,000 mensually. Incremental parsimony from nutritional allocations. Repository upon the bedside stand. Adjacency to the auricularly. Sutured ursine. Mobile device activation. Ocular irradiation via display luminescence. Transmitting Sophie and Clara delivered maternal savings parchments. Alleged bridal provision. Transmission. Millisecond reciprocity quantum? $186,000. Dialogue apex indicating active composition protractedly. Subsequent emergence down payment adequacy achieved. Ocular fixation upon the display. Phalangeal opposition against labial margins coincident with pulsatile exhalation. Device vibration recurrence. Post. Crutality ambulation cemetery pilgrimage introducing the matriarch. Locutionary intentions regarding maternal communion. Digital suspension supra the transmission actuator. Antiseptic olfaction intruding nasally. Geographic inscription affirmative. Diurnal cycle quintus. Vance legal representation contacting Aunt Clara. Apple excoriation in progress. Pericarp continuity preserved. Telephonic activation. Post. Oral reception. Biaural reception. Pomacidious blade impacting the tray. Clang. Provenance of this contact? Phonatory attenuation. Lexemes triturated via dental interstices. Authorization regarding this outreach? Contraparty persistence. Aunt Clara. S. orthostasis. Fenestration approach. Drapery rugosification. Attend rigorously. Solemn iteration Lucas Sterling. My adoptive filial descendant. His mater. My biographical confidant. Vehicular trauma inflicted upon my progeny by your consortium. Apneic interruption. Resumption contemporary attempts at monetary resolution. Impermissible. Proscription regarding recurrent outreach. Recidivism immediate law enforcement notification. Telephonic deposition within the receptacle. Decussate impact. Fenestration regression. Post. Excursion thoracico. Pulmonic undulation. Continuation of malic excision. Incisive depth excessive. Parenchymal ablation. Reciprocal contact regarding Uncle David? I inquired. Pomacidious instrument hiatus. Affirmative. Resumption of excision. Lamellar tangential traversal. Uncle David. S. Telephonic execration of legal counsel. Vituperative inundation. Digital tremor. Pericarp discontinuity. Quadragenarian traffic administration. Pathological aversion toward authoritarian malfeasance. Impermeability regarding fiscal inducement. Malic deposition proximate to my locus. Acceptance. Reseating. Post. Thoracico. Pulmonic equilibration. Lucus. Convalescence prioritization. Ocular fixation. Vance impediment interdiction by our consortium. Maternal absence notwithstanding. Familial status conferred. Acknowledged. Malic mastication. Succulent diffusion. And Clara. MM. Malic dulcetid notable. And Clara. S catatonic state. Fascio. Lateral deviation. Scapular undulation. Orbital desiccation via manual contact. Phonation subfusc. Impulsive locution rationale. Diurnal tertius. 1500, portal aperture. Sophie Bennett. Portal threshold occupancy. Ecru trichet. Obsidian inferiors. Pedal extremities deviating radically via planate footgear. Tertiary diurnation of personalized Boolean conveyance. And Clara. S journal lection cessation. Ocular convergence. By. Second quiescence. Identity? Sophie. S attenuated initiation. Clara Winters. Elena. S consanguineal affiliate. Orthostasis. Ocular transection of Sophie Bennett. Cephalo. Caudal scrutiny. Designation? Sophie Bennett. By. Second quiescence. And Clara. S ocular illumination intensification. Labial effectivity modulating analogously to Aeolian. Perturb undulations. Amplifying profundity. Goodness gracious proximal advancement. Prehensile intent towards Sophie. S carpal extremity. Authentic Sophie Bennett. Sophie. S retrograde micro. Advancement. Lucas. S referential mention. And Clara. S tonality elevation. Thermal exhalation. Surpassing photographic verisimilitude. Sophie. S ciliary micromotion. Photographic medium. And Clara. S cephalic rotation toward me. Ocular content unambiguously significative. Omission regarding disclosure? Cephalic reversion. Phonation attenuation albeit lexical clarity. Yester. Nocturnal chronometry. Mobile interface engagement. WeChat icon magnification iterative. And Clara. Manual gesticulation. Disregard. Carpal prehension of Sophie. S radioulnar extremity. Juvenile advisement. Sophie. Mater. S veridical discernment regarding Homo sapiens. Our Lucas. Cerebral. Posiliquent. Yet discernible divergence regarding your ontological status. Sophie. S non. Withdrawal. Labial angulation micromotion. Ontological divergence specificity? Mobile interface engagement temporality. And Clara. S ulterior phonation attenuation. Analogously to arcane disclosure. Albeit auditory reception omnidirectional. Your locutory manifestation. Labial angulation micromotion. Digital indication proximate to zygomatic architecture. Involuntary elevement. Sexagenarian anthropological precision certification. Masculine juveniles exhibit involuntary labial elevement exclusively regarding ontologically cherished entities. Sophie. S lateral cephalic declination. Ocular sidelong inspection. Palpebral commissure curvature evincing sly luminescence. Labial triumph concealment imperfect. Additional effective modality. Non. Discernible. Cephalic fenestration declination. Ocular fixation upon exterior vitreous obscuration. Diurnal crepuscularity. And Clara. Citrus aurantium consumption. Sophie. S. Pomological selection. Maximal turgescence. Proffering. Medicated osteo. Bouillon preparation. Degustation invited. Declination. Portal approach. Liminal re-entry. Digital indication upon the ursine. Ursine artifact. Maternal provenance. Infantile hyperthermia. Obligatory ursine adherence prerequisite regarding somnolence induction. Expiratory pulsation via nasal passage. Prospective pathological episodes. Superannuated ursine obsolescence. Portal locking mechanism. Click. Ward quiescence adequate for intravenous droplet audibility. Plink. Sophie. S. Advancement toward the bedside stand. Manual elevation of the pilose ursine. Abrasion. Induced lustrousness. Inversion. Digital fixation upon the sinister auricular suturing. Maternal suturing. Affirmative. Ursine repositoring. Reseating. Operculum elevation. Medicinal vapor effluence. And Clara. S. Discriminative acuity. Discriminative modality specificity. Anthropological discernment. Non. Response. Cochlearial agitation inducing ursine immersion. Bouillon chromaticity profundity augmentation. Turgescent jujubes superficially emergent. Parenchymal dissolution via cochlearial compression. Jujube incorporation. And Clara. S. Diurnial egress. Dulcited preference notation. Incidental incorporation. Singular encounter. Inframinate social colloquy. Mnemonic encoding. Ceramic bowl impact. Attenuated resonance. Cephalic elevement. Sophie. MM? Chronometry regarding inaugural conviviality? Ciliary micromotion. Response latency. Trimestral retrospect. Friday, May 17th. Diurnal precision. Inaugural Y. Phi credential oblivion chronometry? June tertius. Labial micromotion. Attenuated curvature. Domestic router. Huawei manufacture. Primordial passcode. Basal adhesive. Responsorial. Ms. Bennett. Posterior aspect inversion recommended. Lexemic engraving within mnemonic substrates. Additionally, the inaugural horological bestowal. Purported corporate raffle surplus. Veracity? Operative hiatus. Receptacle deposition. Negative. Purposeful procurement. Trivariate retail exploration. Quadrantal temporal expenditure. Phonation attenuation. Selective rationale. Presumptive non. Rejection probability. Motivation? Ultimate conviviality. Brachioletral fracture imminence notation. Catatonic state. Octenary noctodiurnal oblivion regarding that incidental remark. Mater. S. Horological band. Abrasion. Induced structural compromise. Replacement necessity. Spontaneous verbalization. Mnemonically unregistered. Significative uniqueness? Sophie. S. Palpebral declination. Digital perambulation upon counterpane margins. Labial micromotion. Attenuated curvature. Unprecedented effective modality. Novennial birthday observance. Vicinarian. 9th. Pause. Phonation attenuation. Occupational prolongation until 2300. Mnemic absence regarding anniversary. Parental extraterritoriality. Colleagues. Hierarchical differentiation exclusively. Monadic luminary persistence within tri. Level edifice. Sedentary state. Vitreous enclosural sensation. Cephalic elevement. Ward luminaire irradiation intraocular penetration. Fragmentary. Subsequent portal percussion. Locution. Ms. Bennett. Computational restoration achieved. Chronometric advancement. Somnolence recommendation. Ocular fixation. Lexeme quotidianity. Mnemonically unregistered. Singular thermal locution within that diurnal chronology. Protraced quiescence. Mnemonic resurgence. WeChat acquisition. Non-technical pretext? Expiratory pulsation via nasal passage. Back-end engineering specialization versus chief executive officer distinction. Why? Phi credential retention presumption? Analogous to amphoric vessel abandonment. Phonation attenuation. Obstinate elevement. Pretext acquisition. Specify pretextual taxonomy. Cognizance acquisition regarding Lucas Sterling. Expiratory pulsation. Cognizance regarding computational repair personnel? Cognizance regarding the entity. Pause. Intranocturnal portal percussion regarding somnolence inhibition admonition. Exterior tenebrification totality. Urban luminary archipelago extracellular proliferation. Indeterminate distal extension. Ward luminaire deactivation. Solely nocturnal wall. Mounted luminaire persistence. Tepid aureate irradiation. Hemifacial obfuscation. Supraorbital. Mandibular. Labial rigidity. Liquefaction within irradiation. Revealing substratal curvature. Feminine morphology. Non-identity as Ms. Bennett. Vance. Destabilizing glacial entity. Solitary sedentarity. Psychic stratification exposition. Inspiratory exertion. Brachial extrusion from counterpain. Palmar supination. Sophie. Ciliary micromotion. Manual transduction. Ocular fixation upon palmar surface. By. Second duration. Manual repositioning upon the substrate. Circumscription diminution. Cutaneous glabrosity. Apical frigidity. Prehension. Moderate tension. Phonation deficiency. Ocular fixation. Experimental protocol? Methodical benevolence demonstration. Orbicular irrigation increment. Lacrimal retention via palpebral constriction. Precluding effusion. Manual tensional amplification. Phalangeal blanching. Analogous to recuperated gem apprehension. Lucas. Chronometric awareness regarding locutionary anticipation latency? Inspiratory exertion. Phonation attenuated analogously to suspiration. Nonagenary diurnal latency. Septenary convivialities. Duodecimal computational malfunctions. Insomniac nocturnal locutionary profusion. Lunar plenitude inferior feline adiposity augmentation, crastinal precipitation prognostication. Post. Transmission cogitation chronometric latency regarding dendrological responsiveness. Present ocular elevement achieved. Retardation. Protocol formulation pre-existent crastinal corporate vestibule obstruction. Fortuitous obsolescence. Manual retraction. Digital opposition against precordial topography. Moderate tensional exertion. Topographic jurisdiction transfer. Dissension? Absent. Repudiation prohibition. Non-repudiatory. Prospective. Familial absence. Locution. Cognitive abstinence. Sophie. Cephalic nutation. Satisfaction. Manual retraction. Tissue extraction. Orbital desiccation via lateral declination. Exterior aeolian perturbation. Foliar susurration. Cephalic reversion. Effective reconstitution toward habitual composure. Palpebral commissure persistence regarding subliminal arithmetic residue. Vesperal chromatism dissipation vestige. Effective turbulence surreptitious disclosure. Boolean thermal attrition imminency. Phonation equanimity. Effective non-disclosure. Residual ingestion. Receptacle retrieval. Lavatory progression. Aquatic resonance. Crisp. Cavernous. Regression. Ocular inspection of mobile interface. Supercilial micromotion. Incident. Vance legal representation. Mobile deposition within receptacle. Phonation analogous to inconsequential briefing. Diurnal tertius. Corporate human resources infiltration attempt regarding collegial intelligence procurement. Pause. Intervention executed. Intervention modality? Corporate acquisition. Receptacle instability. Near. Decussate impact. Elucidation? Quinquaginta. Uno percentile equity acquisition. Diurnal subscription. Hexadecimal personnel complement. Quadramensal revenue magnitude $400,000. Procurement valuation. Triennial proprietarial somnolence facilitation adequacy. Motivation. Vance consortium impediment regarding corporate infiltration. Requisite Sterling consortium consultation. Mandibular elevement. Familiar hegemonic effect re-emergence. Post. Convalescent egress. Chronometric ingress/egress. Prandial intermissions. Convalescent leave. Jurisdictional transfer. Maxillary separation. Pharyngeal lexical incarceration. Affective dilemma regarding thermal benevolence versus dorsal frigidity. Sophie Bennett. Surveillance micro. Installation atop occupational workstation improbability? Cephalic inclination. Ciliary umbra projection. Non. Instrumentation plausibility. Attendance archival scrutiny. Diurnal frequency. Scapular declination. Cognitive transparency. Labial micromotion. Attenuated curvature. Receptacle acquisition. Orthostasis. Portal threshold. Calciumentum hiatus. Crastinal meridian. Gastronomic preference? Universal culinary acceptability. Affirmative. Portal aperture. Liminal re-entry. Near. Omission. Manual excavation within receptacle. Argent key extraction. Key impact upon bedside stand. Crisp resonance. Domiciliary access. Post. Convalescent translocation. Ocular fixation upon key. S. ursine pendant. Cephalic vacuity. Non. Consensuality. Consensuality extant. Non. Cephalic reversion. Phonation portal. Filtered. Repudiation antecedent locution. Portal reclosion. Attenuated. Corridor calciumentum resonance. Accelerated. Elated cadence. Concealment impossibility. Reclination upon pulvinar. Ocular transection of key. Adjacent auricularly. Sutured antique ursine. Subjacent maternal parchments. $186,000. Mobile activation. Interface icon suspension. Accession. Iconographic absence. Geographic inscription. Epiphany familial existence confirmed. Transmission. Device vibration immediacy. Sub. Minute commentary inundation. Aunt Clara. S millisecond response existent familial status. Persistent labial obstinacy regarding acknowledgement. Sophie Bennett. S immediate succession cognitive confirmation. Arthur Sterling paternal obedience. Convalescence prioritization. Uncle David. S try. Literal contribution eloquent. Pinnacle incongruity Jonathan Sterling. Septuagenarian. WeChat fiscal transaction operational deficiency. Typographic maximization. Commentary interpolation filial grandson. Device deposition upon pulviner. Involuntary cachinnation. Resonance conspicuous within quiescent ward. Protracted cachinnation. Costal dolor incipiens. Cessation via inspiratory exertion. Exterior urban luminary archipelago. Multitudinous fenestral illuminations. Prospective domestic sentinel occupancy per illumination. Historical ocular inspection. Ontological irrelevance presumption. Present ontological divergence. Illumination singularity. Reservation regarding my sentinel occupancy. Egress diurnal cycle Wednesday. Irradiation beneficence. Aureate oblique fenestration transection. Tepid dermal deposition. Crural gypseous abstraction. Costal osteogenesis acceleration exceeding prognostic estimation. Attending physician. Podial terminal station. Discharge synopsis perusal. Cephalic nutation. Convalescence adequacy. Pausing. Ocular fixation. Menzies observation regarding diurnal ingress/egress volumetric magnitude. Juvenile. Sentinel entourage. Felicitous providence. Scapular percussion. Lab coat fenestration abrasion. Egress. Sophie. S valise packaging. Albescent Manichaean revocation. Cubital linearity dawn. Irradiated. Fructiferous corbels and flory relocation into cartons. Attenuated manipulation. Pomological redistribution toward nursing station. Non. Consumption inevitability. Affirmative. Ursine plush elevation. Bisilicate involucrum. Discrete tote deposition. Agonistic argent. Photographic quadriptych. Maternal parchments. Marginal delamination. Aunt Clara. S diurnial pridey obtrusion. Jujube aggregate. Manual manipulation analogously to vitreous fragility. Depositional digital hiatus. Pulvinar reclination. Observational surveillance. Thoracic vacuity. Tepid supplementation. Portal percussion. Aunt Clara. S valise introgression. Vociferation corridor. Pervasive. Lucas. Immobility imperative centenary osseous rehabilitation prerequisite logistical conveyance via Sophie/Uncle David consortium. Uncle David. S sub. Base vehicular availability. Translocation imminent. Portal aperture. Jonathan Sterling. S manifestation. Contemporary mouse suiting. Slate. Irradiative micrometric texture. Pectination baculiform. Pteridophytic venulation dorsopalmar. Duet ebony. Suited adjutants. Posterior semipedal stationarity. Manual dependentia. Bilateral sculptural simulacra. Lucas. Grand parental egress convoy. Grandfather Jonathan. Senectitude contraindicates logistical imposition. Absurdity. Baculiform tile impaction. Elocutionary truncation. Jonathan Sterling. S advancement. Ocular transection. Crural inspection protraction. Gypseous abstraction. Crural circumference atrophy discernment. Cephalic nutation. Laryngeal undulation. Chromatic reconstitution. Phonatory compression. Domiciliary convalescence prioritization. Occupational abstinence. Paternal uncle logistical arrangement. Logistical non. Imposition. Sophie. S. Phonatory interpolation. Lateral stationarity. Scapular juxtaposition. Convalescent domicile my residency. Occupational logistics prearranged. Jonathan Sterling. S. Alternacular transection. Labial elevement. Palpebral retigulation aquiferous undulation. Non. Locution. Quintessential satisfaction. Baculiform percussion. Affirmative. Jurisdictional transfer. Sophie. S. Cephalic nutation. Affective equipoise. Ontological teleology presupposition. Nursing station pedestrianism. Nurse Lou. S. Introgression. Manila envelope. Marginal delamination. Mr. Sterling. Preter. Diurnal delivery. Egress. Coincident obligatory transduction. Near. Omission. Envelope acquisition. Digital incisure. Epistolary script. Cursive frenzy. Terminal tractive vestiges. Mr. Sterling. Post. Factum verbosity superfluous. Vance consortium dissolution. Filial culpability acknowledgement. Patriarchal expiation. Vance consortium debt perpetual. Robert Vance. Subjacent judicial decree photocopy. Reckless endangerment. Evidence tampering. Cumulative sentencing triennial incarceration. Non. Suspended. Robert Vance biennial incarceration. Triennial suspension. Corporate bankruptcy. Placation. Sophie Bennett transduction. Ocular inspection. Receptacle deposition within compartmental zipper pouch. Finalization. Affirmative. Rochler tile abrasion. Attenuated susurration. Sophie. S. Propulsion. Corridor luminaire irradiation. Nursing station manual gesticulation. Nurse Lou. S. Orbital rubefaction. Nasal manipulation. Cephalic reversion. Ocular inspection. Portal. Domiciliary aperture. Elevator descension. Exterior aeration influx. Autumnal vesper frigidity. Inspiratory profundity. Expiratory lentitude. Thermal zephyr. Camphoraceous foliar olfaction. Isotopic seasonal olfaction relative to introgression diurnal cycle. Ontological divergence. Uncle David. S. Senescent Mercedes. Sub. Grade stationarity. Aunt Clara. S. Semialial projection. Brachial agitations. Posteriority. Jonathan Sterling. S. Atramentus Maybach. Arthur Sterling. S. Semialial mandibular elevement. Posterior salutation. Posteriority. Triune rolls. Royce Atramentus lithic simulacra. Arthur Sterling. S. Predilocution resonance. Herbicentric demonstrative non. Intentionality. Sophie. S. Rochler propulsion. Tile abrasion susurration. Hiatus. Manual prehension of armrest. Phalangeal blanching. Ponderal transference onto plantigrade extremity. Costal constrictive sensation. Invisible manual strangulation. Non. Dolorific. Dextral plantar contact. Thermal rudosity perception. Hiatus. Ambulatory feasibility? Sophie. S. Posterorolateral phonation. Experimental protocol. Sinistral anteposition. Semipedalous progression. Corporal oscillation. Dextral crural asthenia. Sophie. S. Manual torolosis sustentation. Apical frigidity. Deceleration. Secundal pedal certitude. Tertial genucubital stasis. Quartal/quintal progression. Portal threshold. Autonomous orthostasis. Cephalic reversion. Albescent hospitalization edifice. Solar irradiative frigidity. Panoramic fenestration. Herbicentric skyline static iconography. Menses pridi. Ambulance portal occlusion. Solitary trajectorial presumption. Menses posterius. Hospital fenestration aperture. Pedestrian multitudinousness. And Clara. S. Primordial advancement. Launate pallium camphoraceous olfaction. Scapular deposition. Vesperal aeolian excitation. Scapular compression. Osteogenesis recent. Meticulous thermoregulation imperative. Jonathan Sterling. S. Baculiform tile percussion. Click. 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 Advancement. Sinister intermural orifice excavation. Piriform envelope extraction. Locus insertion. Archaic ritual compliance. Rubrication egress exigency. Rejection inauspicious. Uncle David. S. Sub. Grade vehicular stationarity. Fenestration declination. Logistical stowage completion. Domiciliary translocation. Sophie. S. Posterior portal aperture. Stationarity. Ocular fixation. Aeolian perturbation. Frontotemporal capillamentum agitation. Lucas. Vocational invocation. MM. Lumbar flexion. Choriothermic impingement. Vehicular locomotion. Speculum retrospection. Hospitalization edifice regressive translation. Albescent cubiculum. Angular inflection. Trajectorial obliteration. Cephalic reversion. Sophie. S. Fenestral inspection. Cephalic lateral topography. Irradiative flux modulation. Clavus. Phonatory initiation. Ciliary micromotion. Cephalic reversion. Specification? Domiciliary clavus. Manual extraction. Palmar exposition. Persistence. Ocular fixation upon cupreus clavus. By. Second duration. Restitution. Metallic angulation palmar compression. Antiquated clavus. Singular occupancy specificity. Present exigency. Pause. Duplicitous occupancy requisite? Sophie. S. Ciliary micromotion. Ocular fixation by. Second duration. Explosive cachinnation. Non. Labial constriction. Hollow. Somatic irradiative illumination. Palpebral commissure lunulation. Scapular micromotion. Affirmative protocol. Crastinal juridical proceduration. Rubicund viridity. Vehicular flux. Peristeronic emporium. Herbicentric archeo. Vicinality. Topographic ubiquity. Motivational nullity regarding itinerancy. Clavus dexterity. Sinistral Sophie Bennett. Adequacy attainment.